Okay, can everybody hear okay? Yeah? Okay, good. So, I remember when I first came to Singapore, 1987, when we said things started at 7:30, it was usually 7:45, 7:50. So it looks like the one good thing about COVID is that things start on time. Yeah, except I was late because they gave me a very big meal and I couldn't eat all of it, but I did a pretty good job. Okay, but we are together now, and you know, there's a whole history to that's leading up to the talk that I'm going to give today, because many years ago, I was sitting with several of the Friends of Shrivasti Abbey, and people were saying, oh, it'd be really nice to have a teaching on one text and just go from the beginning to the end. And so we thought, okay, every year I will teach a little bit of a text. So we chose this one. It's the English title is sometimes a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. It could also be engaging in a Bodhisattva's deeds. There's many translations for the title, but it is one of my favorite books. And His Holiness Dalai Lama said that when he fled Tibet, this was one of the books that he had to take with him. Yeah. And the reason I like this book so much, well, there's a few reasons. One is Shantideva, the author. He writes it as if he's talking to himself and giving himself instructions. Yeah, so that's one thing that I really like. And also, he is very, very honest. Yeah? And so in the book, you know, he's talking about how we should practice, how we should think if we want to become bodhisattvas, people who are aspiring for Buddhahood. And then when he sees how far he is from that and how the mind makes up excuses about not practicing, he's very straightforward with himself. Yeah, he doesn't pull any punches. And he says, you know, like he's talking to himself, like, come on, you know, you can't do that. Look at the situation very clearly. Don't sugarcoat it, okay? And so I really like that approach, yeah, because I know with my mind, if I can be lazy and talk my way out of doing something, I will. Okay. How many of you have made resolves to do some kind of Dharma practice every morning, but you never quite got around to doing it? How many? Yeah? Okay, yeah. And did you have some reason why you didn't get around to doing it? You know, you were up too late, or you have to go to work early, or your little toe hurts, so you can't concentrate. Yeah. So we think of all sorts of excuses, but these excuses only harm ourselves. Yeah. When we're lazy and we don't do what we know is good for us, ourselves, we're only harming ourselves. Okay, so I'm a big fan of this book. So we started, I started teaching it many years ago. Anybody remember what year? It was many years ago, okay? And I'll just read the chapter titles for you so you know what came before. There's 10 chapters, and we're now reading from the 8th one, okay? So before that, there was talk of the benefits of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is the mind that aspires to become a fully awakened Buddha, so we can be of great benefit to other living beings. So that was the first chapter. Second chapter, disclosure of wrongdoing. It's like, well, if I'm going to be a bodhisattva and benefit sentient beings, I got to clear up the mess in my life first. You know, I've created negative karma, I've sometimes behaved horribly, and in previous lives, who knows what I did. So I need to do some confession and purification practice. Yeah, which is also a wonderful practice, and Tibetan tradition will do purification practices a lot. And when you do them, they change your mind. They really do. You feel different about yourself and about the world. Chapter 3 is fully accepting the bodhicitta. So really saying, I'm going to not just aspire to become a Buddha because I care about sentient beings, but I'm going to make a very clear determination and vow to do that. So that's chapter 3. Then chapter 4 is about conscientiousness. In other words, caring about our ethical conduct. Yeah? Now, that's an interesting one. Yeah, especially nowadays when there's so many people who are so prominent in society who really have very bad ethical conduct and don't seem to care much about the effect of their actions on either their family or society. Okay? So, you know, if you lived in the U.S., and you were thinking of our political situation, with the dear previous president we had, who also wants to become president again, who has been indicted in four court cases and impeached twice. You know, if you were living with somebody like that in your country who is in the news every single day, but they didn't keep very good ethical conduct, you would know what I'm talking about. Okay? And how much, you know, sometimes we think, oh, I'm just one individual. What I do is not very important. Actually, one individual can make a big difference. So if you're one person in the country, like this particular person, who lies, yeah, who encourages insurrections in the country, then you would see how the effects of one person can interfere with the happiness and well-being of many people. Yeah. On the other hand, if you look at people who have very good ethical conduct, who have a kind heart, who want to benefit others, they can also make a very big influence on the world. Yeah. So we shouldn't ignore the impact of our actions. Yeah, what we do matters. It matters not only to ourselves for the karma that we create, and not only to our family, not only to our country, but actually to the whole planet, because we are so tied together globally now, and we have to cooperate. Okay, then chapter 5 is called Guarding Alertness, and this is talking about mindfulness, and here mindfulness being memory of our precepts, memory of how we want to act and how we don't want to act. And then checking up all the time about, what am I thinking? What am I saying? What am I doing? Yeah. And that is really essential for having a good life. Yeah. It's one thing to have a great aspiration. It's another thing to really try and live it. And as we all know, with our New Year's resolutions, do you even remember your New Year's resolutions for this year? Yeah, anybody remember it? I'm not seeing many people raising their hands here, yeah? So we can see that, it's not just a question of saying, I want to do that, I aspire to do that. It's actually monitoring our thoughts, our words, our deeds, and then, guiding them in the direction of, so we can become the kind of person that we want to be, so that we can do what we think is really beneficial instead of getting sidetracked. Okay, then the 6th chapter, oh boy. Okay, 6th chapter, it's called Patience or Fortitude. This is one of the longest chapters in the book. I have a special relationship with this chapter, okay, because it's about anger and about how to work with our anger, how to calm our mind, okay? So how to deal with anger at somebody else's actions, how to deal with anger when we're sick, because sometimes when we're sick we get very angry, we're in a bad mood, and also how to be patient with ourselves in learning the Dharma, okay, because it takes some patience. Now, my connection with this chapter. Many years ago, my teachers sent me to be the disciplinarian for a group of monks. Okay? Yeah, you're getting it already. Yeah, a nun being the disciplinarian of a group of monks. Okay, now these weren't just ordinary monks who, are kind and so on. These were very macho monks. Okay, the kind of monks that say, we're men, yeah, we're going to do what we want. You're a woman, go for the kitchen. Yeah, listen to what we say. Yeah, do follow our orders. Yeah, and also you're a foreigner, because I wasn't in my own country, another country. And it's like, we're going to make fun of you. Okay, so yeah, I had a great time there. So during the daytime, I would try and do my job, because I was also spiritual program director, and they would take my papers off my desk. They would, I can't even tell you everything. Anyway, so I would get so mad during the day at these guys, just furious. And I would go back to my room at night, pick up this book, go to chapter 6, and read it, and think about it, and get myself calm again. Get myself calm. Okay, good. Go to sleep, wake up in the morning, do my morning practice, go into my office. And they started the whole thing again. So this went on day after day after day. So that's how I learned chapter 6 very well. Okay? Because it was what saved me in that position, because it helped me at least in the evening to get calm. Yeah. And then when I finally wrote the book, Working with Anger, I think there's some copies back there. Yeah. Are there copies? Yeah. So I wrote that book. It's completely based on this book. Okay? I totally plagiarized Shantideva. Yeah. But he's not alive. And anyway, he's really kind, so he didn't sue me. Yeah. But the whole book is his chapter, his work. Okay, then chapter 7 is on, here it's translated as enthusiasm. It's also called joyous effort. So not just effort like, oh, okay, yeah, I gotta do it, but joyous effort, okay? So that you do what you really wanna do and you're happy doing it. And you feel what you're doing is good, and you enjoy doing it, you see that it helps your family, it helps your friends, you get along better with people. Yeah, so that's that chapter, joyous effort. We have one nun at the monastery who sometimes can be a bit strict, okay? And so we nicknamed her, well, actually, she chose the name herself. And she called herself Sergeant Joy S. Effort. Yeah? And then, she started to realize how she was sometimes acting like an army sergeant, and that she was going to retire Sergeant Joy S. Effort to go to the Bahamas. Okay, but so Sergeant Joy S. Effort left, but now she's there and she has a lot of joyous effort. Okay, instead of Joy S. Effort. Okay, then chapter 8 is the chapter that we're on now. And this chapter is called meditation. Okay, so you can see that in this book, the author, Shantideva, has really been helping us develop our mind in many, many different areas, many different ways. And now is coming the time when people would usually go and do a lengthy retreat, yeah, and really put a lot of energy into their practice. So they wouldn't be working, they wouldn't have a social life, yeah, but really being quite earnest in their practice. So we're still at the beginning of this chapter. We got up to verse 7 last time. And so the chapter is talking about the beginning of the chapter, how to cut off our attachment to other people and how to cut off wasting time. Yeah? Because we waste our time, don't we? And one of the ways we waste our time is by doing fun things and sometimes stupid things with our friends and our family. Yeah, and our time goes by like that. So he's talking at the beginning in the chapter where we are now about the disadvantages of hanging out with worldly people. Okay, so worldly people are people who don't know about the Dharma, who don't care about the Dharma, who are just looking out for the happiness of this life. Their motto is, I want what I want when I want it. Okay, is that anybody else's motto here? Yeah? If you look at your mind, how it works, is it, I want what I want when I want it. And I'm entitled to it. The world owes me. I should have everything I want without having to lift a finger. Yeah, and everybody should do what I want. Why? Because what I want is the best thing. Yeah. And you should also learn that I am always right. Okay. I call this, my rules of the universe. I think we all have our rules of the universe. Okay. So there might be a different order to them, but I'll give you maybe some of the top 10. Okay. First, everybody must like me. Nobody is allowed to dislike me. Second, whatever I want, I should get. Nobody should interfere with it. Okay? Even if I don't deserve it, I should still get it. Okay. The third is nobody is allowed to criticize me. Why? Because I don't make mistakes. Yeah, everything I do is perfect. I don't make mistakes, so there's no reason for anybody to criticize me. And if I just kind of slip up once in a while and make a huge mess, you're not supposed to notice it. Yeah. And if you do notice it, you're not supposed to say anything to me. You're supposed to clean it up yourself. Because whenever there's a problem, next rule of the universe, it is not my fault. Okay? Problems are never my fault. They are always somebody else's fault. Yeah? Right? Isn't this? Isn't it? And I get blamed for the bad things other people do. It's so unfair. Yeah, don't you feel that? Yeah? Especially, how many of you have brothers and sisters? Yeah, almost all of us. Yeah. So, when you used to fight with your siblings, were you ever the one who started it? When I fought with my brother, my sister was much younger. I didn't fight with her. But my brother, he was 3 years younger than me. Whenever, we quarreled, it was always his fault, and I got blamed. Yeah. And I would say, but Mom, but Dad, Rusty started it. And they said, we don't care who started it. You're the older one. You should know better. Yeah? Oh, so unfair. Did you have any of you have that with your siblings? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm never at fault when there's a problem. It's always somebody else's fault. Yeah. And the solution when there is a problem, is you're wrong, I'm right. To fix the problem, you change. Because, and this is another rule of the universe, I am always right. I am never wrong. Everything I do is right. Everything I think is right. Everything I believe is right. Yeah, don't you feel that way? Yeah. And other people should listen to me. And the world would be so much happier if people just did what I told them to do. Yeah, but they're so stupid, and they think that they're right. Can you imagine the stupidity of other people? Yeah, they don't realize that I'm always right. Okay, so that's another rule of the universe. Huh? Okay, you getting the idea? Yeah. So it's always somebody else's fault. I'm right. Oh, another one. I always have to win. Okay. Yeah. It's never that I'm right and I'll let you be right just to humor you. It's I have to win. Every time there's a disagreement, I have to win. And I'm going to win, and I'm going to argue until you figure out that I'm winning and you give up. And when you harm me or you say something bad to me, another rule of the universe, you've got to apologize. And it can't be some simple apology like, well, I'm sorry I wrecked your car. It's got to be, because you wrecked my car, that's a big deal. Yeah. So it's got to be an apology where you're at the back of the room and you are crawling on your hands and knees, crawling up the aisle. Can you just imagine it? Take somebody you can't stand who you want to apologize to you, and they're crawling up the aisle going, culpa mia, or is it mea culpa? I don't know, one of the two. Culpa mia, it's my fault. I'm so sorry, I harmed you. Please forgive me, please, please. And then crawling all the way up here, just requesting that I forgive them. And then I sit up straight and say, I'll think about it. Okay, so you can tell the kind of person that is starting their Dharma practice. So he's in this chapter, he's talking about the problems that arise when we hang out with people that is called worldly people or childish people. Yeah. We sometimes don't like being called childish. The Buddha calls us childish. And I'm not a child. I'm a CEO with a corner office. Don't call me childish. Well, from a Buddhist viewpoint, you are childish, yeah? Because the mind is completely wrapped up in, I want what I want when I want it. And I'm going to get it. Yeah. And it's interesting because we think that as adults that we've really changed. We're not like little kids anymore, right? Yeah, we're mature now. We're thoughtful. We're considerate. We're polite, right? Yeah, I'm not like these little bratty kids. Well, look closer. Yeah. Anybody here ever throw temper tantrums? Yeah. we don't, as adults, we don't call them temper tantrums. They're still temper tantrums, but we just call them different. We say, I'm upset because of what you did. But they're actually temper tantrums. Yeah. And we shout and we scream, and sometimes we even throw something. Yeah. So we'll throw a temper tantrum, but we're not childish beings. Or another thing we do, instead of throwing a temper tantrum where we actually shout and scream, okay, we leave the situation, go in our room, slam the door, sit down, and have a pity party. Yeah. You know a pity party? Yeah. Who's the star of a pity party? Me. No, it's not you, it's me. You be careful, yeah. It's my pity party. Yeah. I have lead balloons. I'm only there, it's only me that attends because the whole world doesn't appreciate me. And I cry. Yeah. Oh, only this small amount of tissue? My pity party, I need a big box tissue. Yeah? Yeah. And then we're waiting for the person who we are quarreling with, who is usually, a spouse, a sibling, a very dear friend, somebody you care about. And you're waiting for them to come in and say, and sit down quietly beside you while you're crying. And they say, oh, are you upset? I'm not upset. The other person says, are you angry? Angry? No. But you were so mean to me. Yeah, so we are childish beings, aren't we? Aren't we? If we look at our behavior. I mean, don't try and hide it. Look, we're all friends. We can admit this stuff. Yeah, the more we try and hide it, the more we're confining ourselves to the corner. If you want to be a Dharma practitioner, you have to be able to be honest and admit this stuff. Okay? So I also have a history with throwing temper tantrums. Okay? And my dad so kindly made a movie of it. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. These were the days when some of you are too young to remember this, You have to belong to the dinosaur generation like me. Where the skates, some of you may remember, where the skates weren't shoes with rollers on them, but they were just like a metal plank with the rolls, and then you had to put these rollers attach it to your shoe. Yeah, do you remember those? Yeah? Okay, so I was 4 or 5 years old, trying to get those roller skates attached to my shoe. And those roller skates would not stay attached. See, even they picked on me. So I got so frustrated. I took the roller skates, I slammed them down, and I sat there cried, and my dad videoed the whole thing. Yeah, this was on 8mm film, you know. So whenever we had family movie nights, we watched it. Okay, yeah. So Shantideva talks about, you know, what happens when we hang around people, childish being like that, and how it distracts us from our spiritual aims and interferes with us. Okay, so now pause so I can put my hearing aids in. You know, it's very interesting in the world. It's fine for you to have glasses, but hearing aids, yeah, I don't know, people don't want. So I try, and I'm not ashamed of having hearing aids. So if I'm in the middle of giving a talk, I had to change the battery. Oh, now, my goodness, it sounds different. Yeah. So I just put them on in public. There's nothing wrong, and they're really very helpful. Yeah. Okay. So one thing I should, before going into the chapter, is usually in the Dharma we talk about the kindness of other sentient beings, and we talk about it a lot. You know, how everything we know is because other people taught us. Everything we have comes through the energy and the work of other people. All the skills we have, you know, whatever you do in your job requires some skills. All of that is because other people taught us, encouraged us. Same with any talents we have. If we can sing well or whatever, paint or athletic talents, is because of other people encouraging us, yeah, and teaching us. So we usually talk about the kindness of other sentient beings, and it's really important to think about that. When we do, then we really see how actually we've been the recipient of a tremendous amount of kindness in our life. Yeah, and that meditation, reflecting on the kindness of others, really helps us open our heart and see others as lovable. Okay? In this chapter, we're looking at sentient beings. We still see them as kind. We still see how our lives depend on them. But here, we're also examining, if I want to do a serious spiritual practice, then I can't hang out with my friends and family a lot because they don't understand what I'm doing. And they want to do other things that aren't of much interest to me. Okay? They want to, you know, and some of you may face this at work, you know. You take your holiday at work, and then you come in, and your colleagues say, "What did you do, you know, on your vacation?" And you say, "I went to a meditation retreat." And your colleague said, "You did what? You spent 2 weeks looking at your belly button?" Yeah? You could have gone to Bali and had a great time. Yeah? So those kind of people, they mean well. They're our friends, they're our family, they mean well. But they don't understand karma. They don't understand rebirth. Yeah? They don't understand how somebody in their heart could have a real sincere spiritual longing, a real sincere wish to find answers to life. Like, why am I alive? Why was I born who I was born as? What's the meaning of my life? when I die, what happens and what comes with me? Yeah, so these are very, very important topics. But some people in the world are not so interested in them. Yeah, they'd rather watch soccer games or go and play tennis or go to the pub or watch a movie or, yeah, go lie on the beach in Bali. Okay? So, yeah, so we have to really shift and have more Buddhist friends and not get caught up in all the things of childish people. Yeah. You know, because do you have some friends that they always call you and want you to do something and you're busy doing something else? Or, you know, they want you to come to a party, but you don't like parties, and they keep pestering you to come to a party. Yeah? Anybody have that problem? Maybe you all like parties. I don't like parties. They're too noisy. Yeah? Do you like parties? Yeah? People drink? Yeah, I love parties. They're great. And you know what? So many people tell me that they don't really want to drink at parties, but they drink because they're afraid if they don't, other people will think that they're very prudish. So it makes me wonder, sometimes at a party, maybe hardly anybody wants to drink, but they're all drinking because they think other people want them to drink. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? Do you ever do things like that because you're afraid of what other people are going to think about you if you don't? Yeah. And so, you know, we get talked into doing all sorts of things sometimes that aren't very smart. Now, sometimes somebody comes and says, I have this great business deal. You know, you invest $10,000 and in a year it'll be $3 million. And, and they talk us into giving them their money and they invest it and then, yeah. So sometimes, we're very susceptible to peer pressure. Yeah, when other people want us to do things. And parents, those of you who are parents, you know that you always tell your kids, don't do things just because your friends are pressuring you. Yeah, you teach your kids that. You tell them, use your own intelligence. If it doesn't look good, if it doesn't look safe, don't do it. Even if your friends tease you, you use your own wisdom, you don't do it. Okay, that's what you tell your kids, especially when they're teenagers. But what do? Well, when somebody pressures you, you do what they want. Yeah, you're going to do a business deal. Yeah, and you're going out with some people from the other company, and, they want to take you out and give you several drinks to close the deal, and you feel like, I've had people tell me this, I don't want to drink, but I go, it's a business deal, and I need to close the deal, and, this is how you become friends and show that you're trustworthy. So, yeah, so I drink when they want me to drink. So as a parent, you let yourself be pressured by peer pressure, but you tell your kids, don't let yourself be pressured. Yeah, anybody do that? Oh, nobody, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, nobody. Nobody. Okay, so since nobody here does that, uh, we'll start in the book. So, like I said, Shantidev is really asking us to look closely at our social life, yeah, and what we do, and, is it really necessary? All those things. Okay. So, verse 8, by thinking only of them, the childish beings, in other words, friends and family, this life will pass without any meaning. Furthermore, impermanent friends and relatives will even destroy the Dharma, which leads to liberation. Okay? So here he is saying, when we think only of other people, and we're so sensitive to what they're going to think about us, yeah, then our whole life is going to just go by trying to please them, doing what they want, going here, going there. Our whole life gets consumed, okay? And our life doesn't have much meaning because we're just going here and there and having a good time. We're not purifying our mind. We're not creating merit. We're not developing our good qualities. Yeah. And then he says, furthermore, our friends and relatives who are impermanent, in other words, they're changing all the time, then they don't understand the Dharma, and sometimes, they'll really even criticize the Dharma and close the door to liberation. So he's kind of saying, what's the use of hanging out with people like this? Okay, verse 9. If I behave in the same way as the childish, I shall certainly proceed to lower realms. And if I am led there by those unequal to the Arya beings, to the beings who know reality directly, what is the use of entrusting myself to the childish? Okay, so if I act the same way as the childish do, I'm going from one party to the next, sitting watching sports all the time, doing under-the-table business deals, lying to people to cover up the things that I don't want them to know because what I did wasn't so nice. Okay, so if I behave in the same way as them, I won't be having very good ethical conduct. And as a result of creating this kind of negative karma, in the future, I will have unfortunate rebirths. Yeah? And who wants to, the Buddha talked about unfortunate rebirths. One is in a realm of extreme physical suffering. One is in a realm where you can't get food and drink, and even if you do, you can't consume it. And another, of these realms is the animal realm. Yeah. Now you might say, at least in America, they say ignorance is bliss. Okay? So if you don't know something, it's not going to bug you. But from a Buddhist viewpoint, the kind of ignorance that keeps us trapped in samsara is anything but bliss. Okay? And, if we're born as an animal, the kind of obscuration that an animal has, our pets are wonderful, but they can't learn the Dharma. We have 4 cats at the Abbey, I know Singaporeans don't like cats. You like dogs, but you don't like cats. Actually, cats are wonderful pets. Yeah, you don't know what you're missing. They're really nice. You think they're just dirty and you want them to go outside and catch mice. Actually, they're very cuddly and they're very sweet. Okay, so we have 4 cats, yeah, who are spoiled rotten. Yeah, aren't they? Yeah. And, you know, when we take them outside, we keep them on leashes. Yeah? Usually it's dogs on leashes. We have to keep our cats on leashes because we live in a forest area and meadows, and so there's lots of little moles and voles and mice and little creatures that the cats think are very interesting and they want to play with, but they wind up killing. Okay, so that's why we keep them on the leash. But we try and teach our kitties, you know, we say, please don't chase the mice and the moles and the voles. They want to live just as much as you do. Don't harm them. Yeah. And our cats look at us. And then they take off running after a mouse or a mole or whatever it is, okay? So we try and teach them just the simplest thing about don't harm others. And they don't get it, okay? So imagine if you were born as an animal, you would have no ability to discern what is beneficial and what is harmful for others and for yourself. Yeah? So you don't really want to be born as an animal. Plus, some animals, there's a lot of suffering. Yeah, a lot of suffering. Okay. So if I am led to those lower rebirths by living beings who are not equal to the bodhisattvas and arhats, you know, then why am I entrusting myself to these people? Yeah. If hanging out with them, I only wind up, you know, drinking and drugging and doing, you know, under the table business deals and criticizing other people, and yeah, if I only wind up doing that, what's the use of hanging out with them? Verse 10, oh, this is a good one. One moment they are friends, and in the next instant they become enemies. Since they become angry even in joyful situations, it is difficult to please ordinary people. Okay, one moment they're friends, and the next instant they become enemies. Have you ever had that happen? Have you had people in your life that at one point you're very good friends, then some small things happens and they won't talk to you again, or they criticize you behind your back? Yeah. No, I know that none of us would ever treat other people that way, right? Because we're always kind, compassionate, tolerant people. But sometimes these other childish beings, you know, they treat us that way. And it's true, isn't it? Yeah? They're friends one moment, and then they turn on us. Okay? And since they become angry, even in joyful situations, it's difficult to please these ordinary beings. Okay, so do you ever have friends who are, or family members who are very moody? Yeah, people who are very moody. When you like them, but when you encounter them each day, you're not quite sure who you're going to get, because sometimes they're happy and they praise you and they're kind, and sometimes nothing much has happened, but they're in a really bad mood and they won't talk to you and they, say nasty things. Yeah? Do you know people like that? Yeah. No, like I said, I know none of you are like that. Yeah. We're always predictable and considerate, right? But, if we hang out with people like that, then we might become like them. Okay? So it's very hard to please those kind of people. Whatever you do, they're not going to be happy. Yeah. When I wanted to ordain, my parents were not happy at all. Yeah. This is not the idea they had of how I should live my life. Okay. But this is something I felt very strongly about, that I thought in the end would be beneficial to them and to other people. Yeah. And so I went ahead and became a monastic, because I knew in the long run, thinking of many lifetimes, I would be able to benefit them more by following the spiritual path and making progress on it. That would be of more benefit to them in the long run than trying to please them in the household life. Okay? So that's kind of maybe an extreme example. But, just on other things, it can be very difficult to please some people. Whatever you do, it's not good enough. It's not enough. They want more. Okay, so he's saying all of this to get us to think, how do I spend my time? Who are my real friends in spiritual practice? Yeah. Who can I really rely on? Yeah. Like when I'm dying, do I want my family around, or do I want my spiritual companions and my teacher around? Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't want my family around when I'm dying. Yeah, because they'll be upset and they're crying and they say, don't die, how can you do that? Yeah, and then, there you are, you're lying there, you're trying to die. Or die peacefully. And you have all these people, saying, don't die, do this, do that. We've got to run another medical test. It's the 1401 today, and we're jabbing you again. And, all you want to do is be peaceful. Okay? So to think about that, who do you want to have around you when you're dying? Yeah? Do you want somebody that says, oh, here, let's turn on the TV. There's a great movie. It'll distract you from dying. Yeah? Do you want to sit and watch a movie about World War II or, while you're dying? I mean, what is that going to do to your mind? Okay. So it's difficult to please ordinary beings. They are angry when something of benefit is said, and they also turn me away from what is beneficial. If I do not listen to what they say, they become angry and hence proceed to lower realms. Okay, they are angry when something of benefit is said. Yeah, so you're trying to say to your friend or a family member, okay, let's say you have a family member who has a substance abuse problem. They're drinking, they're drugging, they are on the computer playing video games all day and all night. I know none of you are addicted to video games, yeah. Right, none of you even go anywhere near video games. Yeah, who wants to sit there and look at a video screen and kill people on the screen? Yeah. No, none of you do that. Okay, but let's say there's somebody, yeah, because I heard in Korea, they're really identifying this as some kind of psychological problem of young people just being addicted to video games. Yeah, and so there's people who treat them, psychologists who treat them. So let's say you say something, you're concerned about your friend and what they're doing, and you say, like, let's go do something else, leave the video game, and it's not so important. There's so many really good things you can do in your life. And they get angry at you. Yeah. Or maybe you have a friend who has heart disease and you see them with a big fat piece of cake with gooey frosting. Yeah. And you know that it's so full, not only of calories, but of fat. And they already weigh 300 pounds. And they're eating one piece of cake after the other, and you say, this isn't so healthy, and I love you, and I want you to stop to eat well. And they get mad at you. Or you have a friend who smokes. Yeah, and then they are, yeah, totally polluting their lungs. Yeah, creating the cause to have lung cancer, which is not any fun. And you say, can I help you stop smoking? I want you to live a long time. I love you. They say, get off my back, mind your own business. Okay? So when they are angry when something of benefit is said. And they also turn me away from what is beneficial. Yeah, so next year, when it's time for your holiday, yeah, they say, look, don't go to that meditation retreat. You looked at your belly button for 2 weeks last year. This year, we're going to go climb Mount Everest. Yeah. Okay, and they take you to Nepal, and you go, I don't know how far you go. Okay. So they turn us away from what is beneficial. Or we want to do some volunteer work, yeah, and help some people. And they say, oh, why are you helping those people? They're not worth anything. Oof, what is a horrible thing to say. Yeah. So we don't want to hang around those people. But if I do not listen to what they say, what they advise me to do, then they get angry. And by getting angry at me, since anger creates negative karma, then they are creating the cause for themselves to be born in a lower rebirth, in an unfortunate rebirth. Okay? So again, what's the use of hanging around these people? What time? Oh, it's later than I thought. Okay, we'll do one more verse. Okay, so verse 12. They are envious of superiors, competitive with equals, arrogant towards inferiors, conceited when praised, and if anything unpleasant is said, they become angry. Never is any benefit derived from the childish. Okay, so that's really saying it all. When there's somebody who's better than them, they're envious, they're jealous, they want to destroy the other person's happiness. With people who are equal to them, they compete. They won't cooperate for the collective good. They compete with each other. Okay, when they're with people inferior to them, instead of helping those people, they're arrogant, have their nose in the air, I'm so great. Okay, when they are praised, they become very conceited, yeah, and think they're really big stuff. And if anything unpleasant is said, they just get ticked off and they tell you how mad they are and they criticize you. So Shantideva's conclusion, never is any benefit derived from the childish. Okay. I remember many, many years ago when some of the people here in the back of the room who are falling asleep, when they were in Pali, and I was invited to go to Singapore Pali to the Buddhist group. And so I remember one day we had a big discussion about what are qualities that you look for in your friends. Yeah? And people went around in a circle and talked about, you know, what qualities they look for in people if they're going to, you know, become friends with them. So it's not just a thing of, oh yeah, I like you, you're fun, you know, you're my friend. But, you know, are you a trustworthy person? Are you honest, or do you lie? Are you going to talk behind my back? Are you going to tell my secrets to the world? You know? And so the kids in Pali discussed this. And at the end, when we, you know, wrote up some of the things they said and translated it into Buddhist language, it came out, oh, the people that I want to be friends are people who have good ethical conduct. Yeah. And if you look at it, it's true. You know, you want to be friends with people who are honest, who don't take your stuff, who don't hit you, who don't exploit you, who don't lie to you. Yeah? You want people who are kind, who think clearly, yeah, who use their speech to bring people together instead of creating conflict between them. Yeah. And so, you know, when we just talk ourselves about what kind of qualities we look for in friends, we came up with exactly what the Buddha talked about in terms of good ethical conduct. Yeah? Yeah, you were one of those people in Singapore Pali. Okay. So there's a little bit of time if you have questions or comments to ask.
Thank you very much, Venerable, for your teachings. Thank you very much, Venerable, for your teachings. Brothers and sisters, if you have any question, you can either raise your hand, we'll pass the mic to you, or you can write on the piece of paper and pass it to our volunteers.
Venerable Jangchup here. To practice the highest tantra, we must complete the 4 foundations first, right? Then what are the 4?
We're not talking about highest tantra tonight.
Okay, so what question can I ask related to today's topic?
Yeah.
So I think the Buddha said Kalyana Mitta is the whole of the spiritual path.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Kalamita.
Guru Yoga.
Okay, we'll leave it. Yeah, I don't want to go into that topics here. It's not appropriate. Yeah, this higher level discussion. Other questions? Mhm. Yeah. So, Kalyana Mitra means a spiritual friend. And when the Buddha said that, well, Ananda was saying that half of the path is involved with having good spiritual friends. And the Buddha said, no, it's actually the whole path is dependent on that. And when the Buddha said that, he was referring to himself as the teacher. In other words, you know, if you want to follow the path correctly, follow an excellent teacher, and certainly the Buddha, who has eliminated all faults and developed all good qualities, is a good teacher. Some people nowadays misinterpret that passage, and they say, spiritual friend, oh, it means everybody who comes to the Dharma Center. Yeah, so that everybody who comes to the Dharma Center are like my, you know, the people who guide me on the path. Now, while it's really important to have good spiritual friends, yeah, it doesn't mean that our refuge is in ordinary beings, you know, who come to the Dharma Center. Yeah, our refuge should be in beings with spiritual realizations. Yeah, in particular the Aryas, who have realized the nature of reality directly. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a number of different things in Buddhism that I see people misinterpret, and that's one of them, about the meaning of the spiritual friend.
Hello, thank you so much for your sharing. I'm just wondering how is the chapter linking to the title of tonight's session, which is taking the egg out of attachment. Yeah, I'm just wondering how is the connection, what's the connection?
Connection between the title and what I just
Yes,
talked of.
Yes, thank you.
Because we get attached to childish beings. Yeah? Don't we? Yeah? They're our family, they're our friends, they're our colleagues. Yeah? We get attached to them. Whenever we're attached to people, put it this way, the Buddha said whatever comes together has to separate. So, and the more we're attached to someone or something, the more, when that separation happens, the more we experience pain. Okay? Whereas if we're able to really care for people without being attached to them, some kind of pure love that is without conditions, yeah, then with that, that's the kind of love that we want to develop on the path to Buddhahood. Yeah, but the ordinary, what we call love, is there can be so much pain in it. Yeah, because I think probably most people here, if you had the experience of falling in love and then breaking up, you know, this is what happens, you know, when you're you're a teenager. It's painful, yeah? Or even family members, you're very attached to them. Yeah? So there's some pure love, but it's very mixed up with attachment. Then when you're separated from your family, you feel frightened, you feel lonely. Yeah? Okay? So when we learn to look at worldly beings, childish beings more accurately, then we don't get attached to them. Okay? So then we have taken the ache out of the attachment. Yeah.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Mm-hmm.
How do you then develop unconditional or the pure kind of love then?
This takes a lot of work. Okay. I think it's based on first seeing everybody equally. Yeah. In other words, we usually divide people into friend, enemy, and stranger. Yeah, friends are good, enemies are bad, strangers I don't care about. Yeah? I mean, I'm saying it the way it is. It's not so nice. Okay. But if we can overcome that kind of partiality and see that deep inside each living being, they only want to be happy and not suffer, then we can begin to see that everybody is equal. Yeah? Because it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if it's, somebody in Israel or some Hamas person. It doesn't matter, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian. Everybody in every situation just wants to be happy and not suffer. So you really ground yourself in that understanding of living beings. And then from there, you can begin to care about them because you see they're just like me, want happiness and don't want suffering. And you develop the ability to care about them in an equal way. Okay? So that is a kind of caring that isn't the sticky kind of with attachment.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. So how do we live or handle those childish people? They are usually our close family and we live together. Communicating with them takes a toll on our mental health. Yeah, you agree with Shantideva. Yeah? Yeah. What happens as we get further in the chapter is Shantideva says, be polite to them, be friendly with them, yeah? Don't stir up conflict with them or talk bad about behind their back, but don't get real close to them, yeah? Don't confide in them or, get really close, because then the problems start coming. But you don't ignore them. You don't go, oh, you're a childish person. I'm not going near you. You have COVID all the time. No, it's not like that. We're polite, we're friendly, but we don't get close, emotionally close. Oh, boy. Understanding sometimes attachments come from our expectation or our imagination. Our mind starts creating stories and we can't let it go. How can we bring the mind back to peace and cultivate kindness? Okay? So this involves noticing when our mind starts making up stories. Sometimes we make up good stories about somebody. Sometimes we make up bad stories about somebody. This is why one of my books is called Don't Believe Everything You Think. Because a lot of the things we think are mistaken. Yeah. So this involves, before I was at the beginning, I was talking about monitoring our minds and observing what we're thinking and saying and doing. If we do that, then when our mind starts making up stories, we can step back and say, is that true? Okay, so attachment stories are you meet somebody and like, oh, this is love at first sight. They are the most wonderful person in the world. They're handsome and kind and artistic and athletic, and it doesn't hurt at all that they're rich. And I'm in love. Okay, so that's attachment. Yeah. Yeah. So when you notice your mind going in that direction, you say, is the person really that wonderful? Yeah. And then you see, no, they make mistakes. Yeah. Yeah. You think of what they look like when they wake up in the morning. They don't look so good. Yeah. You think of what it's like to be around them when they're in a bad mood. That's no fun. Okay, so in that way, you start breaking the attachment, because the attachment is based on exaggerating good qualities or projecting good qualities that aren't there. Okay? Sometimes, so that's one of the stories we do. The other story is, oh, they're a horrible person. Yeah, look, they don't say good morning to me. Yeah, what kind of rude person is that? Okay, and I can tell you stories about this. I had one friend who worked in public radio, and he was a reporter, and in his office there was one colleague who just would walk past him. They never spoke. And my friend was just certain that this other person just didn't like him. And he had no reason, he didn't understand why that other person didn't like him, but the other person never said anything to him. And so he had this whole thing going on in his mind. This person doesn't like me. He thinks I'm a bad journalist. He's probably criticizing everything I write. Yeah, and why am I working in an office with this guy, and, I just want to get away, and, this is going on in his mind. And then one day, the guy stops and talks to him, my friend. And that's how surprised my friend was. Oh, he stopped to talk to me. And the other guy says, I really like your stories. What you write, and your oral stories are really good. And my friend is like so shocked, because he thought this guy hated him. Okay, so that's an example of making up another story about, somebody doesn't like me and they're talking behind me, behind my back and everything. Okay? So if you notice these stories going on in your mind, you stop and you say, how do I know that they're true? How do I know that this person is the most wonderful person in the universe? How do I know that this other person is the most awful, unreliable person in the universe? Yeah, and then you realize that you really don't have very good criteria for making those kind of opinions. Yeah, so that helps a lot to lower the attachment, lower the anger. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this will be the last question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you very much for sharing. My question is very simple. I've been trying to help a lot of people who are under depression, who are mental issues, who are inferior complexity, and many of them are not Buddhist.
Mhm.
So how do I go about helping them? Because if they say they want to die and they really go and jump, you will feel very bad. Although I don't feel much now because I get detached from those people.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things I can't do. If they say they want to die and they really die, a lot of people feel very guilty.
Mhm.
How do we cope with those? Because there's a lot of mental issues in the world now. People are depressed, they got bipolar issue, they got heavy inferior capacity.
Mhm.
How, as a Buddhist, how do we deal with it? Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. She's a social worker, so she can help you too. Yeah. She deals with this a lot. I think one thing is, being kind. Yeah. And one of our nuns is a therapist, and I've asked her a similar question like this, and she said, best thing is to, in the States, maybe here too, I don't know, there are phone numbers you can call if you're suicidal. Yeah, in Singapore, yeah, also. So good, call those phone numbers, get those people talking to somebody who is skilled in talking to people who are suicidal. Yeah. Uh, and then, be their friend, but you don't have to follow them around and track them all the time. Okay? I mean, because what can you do if somebody really wants to kill themselves? They're going to find some way. And it's really tragic. And it affects a lot of people's lives when people do that. Yeah. I know there was one person who was a Buddhist, and she lived clear on the other side of the country, but we would talk on the phone and email, and I really tried to say, look, your life is worth something, and you have the Dharma, you have a precious human life. It's so hard to get this kind of life where you have the ability to meet the teachings and practice them. Don't throw it away just because you're unhappy right now at this moment. Yeah, but she wound up killing herself. I mean, I tried for months with her. So you do your best. I think it's easier for counselors to have that kind of detachment. Yeah, it's harder for family members because family members tend to blame themselves. Yeah, if I had only done this, if I had only done that. That way of thinking is a dead end. Yeah. It doesn't do any good to think that you are so powerful that you could have prevented them from doing this. Yeah? If their minds are really depressed, it's quite difficult. So some of them may need therapy. Some of them may need medical help and pills to help adjust the chemicals in their brains so that they're not thinking like that. Yeah. So you do your best, you stick by them, but you also realize that you can't control the situation. Yeah. And you make prayers for them. Yeah. And this is where doing the meditation on metta, on loving kindness, on compassion, where doing these meditations are very helpful. And then dedicating the merit for the people who are having those problems. Okay, good question. And I know you do a lot to help others. Okay. So that's it for tonight. Today's Friday, right? I'm still a little bit jet lagged. I'm in Singapore. So tomorrow we have Amitabha retreat, tomorrow and Sunday. So we can go into many of these topics in more depth then. Okay? And also, so if you have other questions, you can write them down and leave them here, and then during the weekend, I can try and get to them. What?
Dedication of Mary.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll dedicate the merit first. Sorry. Okay, so let's rejoice at what we did this evening. The merit, the good energy, the positive potential, the goodness in our hearts that we created as individuals and as a group. And let's dedicate that and send that out into the universe, thinking that it touches each and every living being and brings them peace in their lives, peace in their minds.
Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. 真无上妙菩提。来自净土的梵音，微妙殊胜不思议。诸佛说法深不息，六部十方玄妙理。来自净土的梵音，胜过凡尘万种音。来自北大愿力，迷路智慧是真理。佛过净土的梵音，懂得殊胜说不尽。唯愿众生早觉醒，殊真无上妙菩提。唯愿众生早觉醒，殊真无上妙菩提。